Okay, today I'm going to be teaching you a more flexible way to, light up your scene with HDRI, right? And please, I want you to understand, what I'm doing, because if you get it, if you understand it, there is no HDRI that you cannot handle, because sometimes HDRI can be frustrating. But I promise you, if you understand this process, if you understand what each node does, it will help you, manipulate and control HDRI the way you want, like a pro. First thing you need to do is to come to Edit, Preferences, under Add-on. Activate this add-on, which is Node Wrangler. I've already activated mine. Now, the first thing we need to do is to separate the background light from the light that is affecting the whole scene, right? Now, the way to do it is, let me do this first. Now, the first thing you need to do is this background, Shift D, duplicate it, Shift A, add Miss Shader node, right? Add this, right? Then, now the node that does the magic is light path, which is this. Now, this first one, the first option is camera ray. If I add it to this factor, miss shader factor, now to you, nothing changed. But if I remove this, if I unplug this, you'll realize that this is the one, it has separated them. This is the one affecting just the background. And this one is affecting the rest of the scene. Note. And that is what this light path has done for us, right? Now, remember earlier I activated a node wrangler. Now, if this HDRI, how to bring it in first is Shift A, type environment, bring it in, search, click on open, search wherever HDRI is and bring it in, right? If I press Ctrl T, now that add-on, that node wrangler has helped me. It will help me to a kind of bring in the texture coordinate and the mapping in order for me to map, the textures the way I want, to control it the way I want. Now, if I plug this to this color, right, to this background, the first one, this is the one affecting the rest of the scene. Then if I plug this to this one, this is the one affecting the background. Notice it will turn to this color gray. I plug it back, it will give me the sky, right? Now, if I want to rotate this HDRI now, after pressing Ctrl T, it will bring this. If I want to control it, is on this rotation, under rotation Z. If I press, let's say 30, you see, 60, you see, 90, depending on what you want, right? Now, this is not good looking at all. So we have to control this HDRI separately, right? Now, anything I'm doing on this node, this wire, will not affect this, right? So now, if I want to reduce the intensity, the sharpness of this shadow, and like to diffuse it a little bit, soften it a little bit, I will bring in a node called gamma. Now, what this gamma does is to add contrast to texture. to regular texture, to brighten it, or to darken it, but to HDRI, to add the contrast or to reduce the contrast. Now, in adding the contrast, it will always push out the sun. If I increase this gamma, it will increase the intensity, it will increase the contrast of this HDRI. Now it will pop out whatsoever, like if it has any form of sun, right? It will, push it out just the way you are seeing. Now let me go back to one. Right? Now sometimes the punchiness of this sun and how sharp it is, I don't always like it that way. So what this does is I will reduce the contrast of this HDRI, thereby softening, the thereby softening the sun or the shadow. Watch what will happen if I reduce this. Notice it has reduced. Now, if I want to push in this sun, this light, this sun from in this HDRI, if I want to push it completely in, this is how to do it. Keep on reducing this. It will go in. Notice at 6, you can still see soft shadow, right? I'm softening it. Now, while softening it, it is desaturating it, making it less contrast, making it, desaturating it and all that, right? So now, sometimes you may not even want to use the sun that is coming from this HDRI. Sometimes, believe me. So you just have to take it all in and just manage the ambience the way it is. You can just, for those of you, if you can just use the sun independently, like here, you understand. For those that want to use their sun independently, this is how to do it. So, but that is not what I want. I still want to keep this. But most times I realize that from 0.8 works fine for me most of the times, because this way it will reduce the punchiness, it will soften the shadow. Now, once it has softened the shadow, I can now increase the overall intensity, which will, go with that softening, that level of softening. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Now, there are situations where, you know, the this there are situations where there will be a color spill, like, the overall intensity of the HDRI will be affecting and overshadowing the rest of, the color. Take for instance, this is blue, and I'm seeing that my scene is more of blue. I don't want that. So I will introduce a hue and saturation, right? Now, this hue and saturation, it will help me reduce that color bleed, that color cast, that blue. I don't want it. If under this saturation, if I reduce, notice that that blue, that overall saturation is reducing. You understand? I can, reduce it until I am no longer seeing, that overall color, right? So that is it for the one affecting the rest of the scene, which is this. Now let's go to the one affecting the background, which is this. Now, the first thing I want to do is to add gamma again, right? Now, I want you to have an idea of what it does now, right? This thing looks a little bit desaturated. So now, if I reduce this, notice it will be losing its dark color. It will be desaturating, making it, like overwashed or completely washed out or so. So for my background, what I want is to increase the contrast of the HDRI, thereby, of course, which means increasing this gamma. Notice, if I'm increasing this while adding that contrast, you see my background will pop, right? I will show you. 1.1, just notice this background: 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. Notice it is becoming punchy, more contrast. You see, this is more of what we are gunning for, what we are looking for. Now, there are situations whereby, like sometimes the background looks overwashed. Let's say, like, looks washed out. You know, what you do is to still add this hue and saturation. Now, what it does is, if I increase this, it will pop, like it will bring out the color the more, right? So that is what this saturation does. While I am decreasing it on this one, affecting, you understand? I'm increasing it on this one. So this is what it does. Saturation, it gives you that contrast. The gamma gives you more contrast, you know and this hue and saturation, if you increase the saturation, it will force the vibrance of that HDRI, out. But you know what you want. You are the artist. You know the extent to which you want it. So you wouldn't want to overdo it. And even sometimes you will even want come here to, let's say, increase, the intensity. Like, you know what you're looking for. Because sometimes, while increasing this contrast, this gamma, sometimes it will even darken the HDRI, right? It will start darkening, even despite adding the color. So what you do is, you keep increasing the strength, until, you reach the intensity you desire for your scene. But again, remember that whatever we are doing on this background, right, is not affecting our scene. We are controlling everything separately. And thanks to this light path, is camera ray, right? So this one is independent of this one, right? So that is it for this. If you have this mindset, I mean, if you know this, you can control, your HDRI just the way you want. All right, this same method was what I used for this HDRI with golden hour sunlight, right? This on the screen right now. So that was what I used. Okay, now let me teach you how to light up for overcast scenes. Overcast HDRI is not as complicated as you know the regular HDRI. I will show you in a minute. Okay, setting up overcast scenes, overcast HDRI is usually simple and straightforward. All you need to do is to plug the HDRI, then Ctrl T, like I said earlier. You can just come to under rotation Z. That is where you rotate, right? Now notice that this HDRI is a little bit, it feels overwashed. You can just bring in gamma to add contrast, to make it more punchy and all that. So the more I'm increasing this, you you realize that I'm beginning to gain that contrast. The darker area is becoming darker, the whiter area, is becoming whiter. You understand? showing me that. But sometimes while increasing it, you will notice that there is some kind of color cast, from the sky, which is making it a little bit off. So in that case, you don't need, all you need to do is to bring in hue and saturation and reduce the saturation, you know, to the point you no longer notice that color cast. You can even increase it more. But while increasing your contrast, please make sure, of course, HDRI varies. So you are the artist, you know the extent to which you want to, take this up or down, right? So that is it for this. And sometimes when you are increasing it and you notice any color cast whatsoever, then you just bring in hue and saturation and reduce the saturation. It will solve the problem, right? And again, sometimes some HDRI require you to go extreme with this. Now, if I come out from this HDRI from the camera, you realize that this, anything other than the sky is dark, is unnecessarily dark. So make sure that when you are messing with this gamma, all you are seeing at the background is just sky. Because take for instance, if I push this in, let's say to 90, whereby you're seeing, this, look at this, it doesn't really look that nice. So make sure that as you are rotating your HDRI, you are not seeing any form of anything that is not sky, anything, that is not, because it will look odd. I hope you understand. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.